she began way downtown with nonlinear plays with wild and obscure titles, work more influenced by Joyce and Beckett than Lorraine Hansberry and August Wilson. In less than a decade, she has become the first African-American woman to have a Pulitzer Prize. She wrote a screenplay for Spike Lee, and yes, is even working for Disney. Welcome to Women in Theater. I'm Linda Weiner, theater critic and arts columnist of Newsday. And our guest is Suzan-Lori Parks, who won the 2002 Pulitzer and seduced Broadway with Top Dog, Underdog, all without compromising her subversive tragic comedy.
Ooh, that's good.
Let's get Disney out of the way first.
Disney,
yeah. Yes.
They call it Mauschwitz. That's what they call it. They, not the people, you know, people. They always ask me, you know, in coffee shops, I have coffee with people and they look around to make sure. And they say, what's it like working for Disney? And it's fine. Yeah. It's like nothing. I mean, maybe I don't know.
Well, Julie Taymor obviously had a wonderful time doing The Lion King. Now, you're working on Hoops. H-O-P-Z.
Which is a musical based on the Harlem Globetrotters. So I'm writing the book. I've written the story. I had to craft the story out of the Harlem Globetrotters history, and you know, I had to sort of invent pieces because it's not a historical musical. Gosh, or it's loosely based. We take part of their history. It's basically the story of a young kid in the present day who has an encounter with them, the Globetrotters, back in 1947, back when they won. They had this game where they were up against the Minneapolis Lakers, who were then from Minneapolis, the Lakers, and the best team in the world. They beat them. Anyway, this is important for basketball fans all over the world. But they beat the best team in the world, and it was an incredible moment for the Globetrotters. And so I'm just, you know, recreating things.
Is this? I would think that collaborating with corporations or even with a lot of other artists must be very, very different from what it is that you're most celebrated for, because your work is so original. It's so much your voice.
Yes.
Top Dog, Underdog, which won the Pulitzer Prize. Two brothers locked in a room with an inheritance.
Right. That's very good. That's
and so many In the Blood play based on Scarlet Letter. Your first play based on Scarlet Letter.
Yes.
And that one was a wonderful, wonderful play about Hester, a welfare mother living under the bridge in Manhattan with 5 children from 5 different husbands. Now you have another play, also inspired by Hawthorne's A Scarlet Letter. That's the newest play, your 5th play at the Public. Could you tell us a little about that?
Gee, it's what's exciting to me right now. We've just finished our first week of rehearsal, and what's very exciting, right now is that the contrast between Top Dog, Underdog and the new play. Top Dog, Underdog is 2 men in a room, 2 men, 1 set. And the new play, it's a cast of 14. It's an epic drama with 10 songs that I wrote, lyrics and music, for the play.
Is it a contemporary? Is it set contemporary?
Yes, it's set now, but it's in a place. It's in an undiscovered country, so it's in a place that none of us have ever traveled to. There's a made-up language in it called talk, which is used mostly by women to speak of private things. Or privates. So we often, the characters will go into this talk language, and the translation will be super titled above the stage.
Well, I was with some people at Top Dog, Underdog who thought that there should be translations on this, you know, that your language is both so personal and with some street in it and whatever. Were you surprised that this is a play that got to Broadway with the language?
Oh, well, the language in Top Dog is not at all personal. The language is actually very public language. The 2 men who spend the entire play in that room, or all the scenes of the play take place in that room, the language is very public. It's language of the streets, even though they are in the room. Whether or not people in the audience, or whether or not everyone in the audience understands it, we could, I go to a David Mamet play, and I'm sitting there going, bibbidi bubbidi, what? You know, do I need a translation? No, you go with the flow of the play and the sense of the, what, you know, you understand the story, so you don't need to understand every single word.
In addition to the Scarlet Letter, which has been a theme throughout much of your work, and which now the new play has a title that we can't say in family television, but it's very, very television. Clever. I don't know. I don't know. We're not family, but Top Dog Underdog and the America play were both plays of yours that were very driven by the idea of Lincoln's assassination.
Yes.
And people using that as entertainment.
Yes.
Could you talk about Abraham Lincoln and Hester Prynne as these two driving subjects? Oh. Caught you.
No, yeah, always. I mean, that's the best way to catch me at a blank, is to ask me a question about my work. Blank spot.
No, not your work. Oh, no.
Oh, I know. I don't know. All I know is that I know two things. One, I was writing the America play, writing along.
That was 94. 90.
Yeah, I was writing it, I guess it went up in 94, so I was writing it before that. And I'm writing along, and this character comes, it's like this guy sits down beside me. And it's this guy, this black guy dressed up like Abraham Lincoln. And I'm not sitting there going, why am I interested in the character of Abraham? You know, I don't care. This guy is there. I'm writing down what he says, which is basically the Lincoln Act. And then we have in the second act of the play, the family is looking for the remains of this man. With Hester, I was rowing a canoe, and I made a joke to my friend who was in the front, my friend Talia, who's a wonderful writer, Talia Field. And I made a joke to her, I'm going to write a play called Fucking A. And we laughed, ha, 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 you know, based on the Scarlet Letter. Oh, we had a good time laughing. We got back to shore, and I thought, I didn't sit there and think, why am I interested in the Scarlet Letter? You see, so
But these subjects keep preoccupying you. They interest you enough to keep going back.
Well, it's, with me...
One's a guy thing and one's a woman thing?
No, I think it's all a people thing. I think that it's all, you know, energy. I mean, I don't distinguish, you know. There are, even though there are two male characters in Top Dog, there are women characters who are in their minds, you know, so it's not just about guys, it's about guys and women, you know. So, but I don't sit around thinking about what it is that interests me. And it's not that it's not an intellectual decision. I'd like to discuss the issue of such and such, and so I decide to embrace the Scarlet Letter and write a play.
No,
I
guess my question, because you've written other plays about the Scarlet Letter, that it keeps calling you back. You're not done yet with it.
Well, it's like a guy, you know, you're dating and you break up and he calls you. You know, and it was good.
But it wouldn't have had to be good, right?
Well, there was something to it, you know, and you find yourself back in it again. Or it's like being haunted, you know, more about like being haunted, where, you know, you're haunted by, you're not haunted like afraid, but possessed. Something keeps sort of pulling at your dreadlock, you know, or your coattail or your sleeve, you know, and that's what it is. It's not a sort of a I want to write something about something. No. It's more like someone's going, me.
A lot of this is really historically based. You see, your work is really has to do with trying to find those myths that that America lives with. And see
lives by.
Lives by. Thank you. And I loved in Top Dog Underdog when one character's named Lincoln and the other's named Booth, where the character Lincoln talks about how people like to have their history nice. They like it. I hate to paraphrase you, but they like to have it unfolded the way they had folded it up.
That's cool. Click. Yeah. Good. Yeah.
And was history always something that interested you when you were growing up?
I liked Greek myths, so I liked larger-than-life characters, and my dad, I think, contributed to that by being, well, he still is, although he's ill. He's 6'4", and he would walk around the house. He'd turn on opera music and walk around the house and sing the arias, things like that. So, this sort of epic sighs and, so Lincoln is a larger-than-life person. The Scarlet Letter is a big, I like sort of the larger-than-life things. Historical, yeah, but it's more like, if you like a Greek myth, you could say you're somebody who likes an old story. And history is nothing more than an old story that's been sitting around and everybody knows and we all agree on, sort of. And it's fun to kind of trot it out. It's something we all recognize. You put a guy in a tall top hat and put a beard on him. I tried that with kids when we did the America Plate, because it opened first at Yale. And we did it at Yale, and I had this picture of the hat and the beard. And I showed it to kids, and they were like, "Where's Lincoln?" They knew, immediately. We know that. So it's fun to just use.
But how subversive to put him in whiteface in Top Dog Underdog.
It's a job. It's funny, this kind of subversive thing. For me, I get up every morning. You get up every morning and you walk out the door, and maybe that in itself is a subversive act. We should be all lying in bed or over, doing other things. But I think just getting up every morning and writing is a subversive act. So all acts also,
Do you really? I saw in PBS had a documentary about you, and you seem to be using a manual typewriter and not quite a quill pen, but I believe it was an ink pen, right?
Well, I have a fountain pen. I have a
pen,
fountain pen, yeah.
Yeah. So you're not a computer girl?
Oh no, I use. I use I tell my students at CalArts, by many means necessary. So whatever, one day sometimes it is a manual typewriter because you have to thread the paper through and crank it and tang, 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 tang. You have to do that because that's what's going to, help you write. Sometimes it's writing longhand with a pencil and a yellow pad, or a fountain pen and a notebook, or a computer. Top Dog, I wrote straight on the computer, like that. The project dictates what I choose.
You live in Brooklyn, and you also live in Venice, in LA.
Yes.
And you run the playwrights. What do you do at CalArts?
CalArts. Yeah, I run the dramatic writing program.
Okay.
At CalArts. But they have a wonderful theater school out there, and I have some great students. We have a lot of fun.
And you got married the same day as Top Dog Underdog opened it at the public?
Downtown. 2 days after. We figured, we were having such a good time that we were just going to keep the party going.
Having a blues musician as a husband, does that influence your nervous system? I didn't mean to. Yeah, synapses.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great because to compose a song, as my husband Paul Osher, when Paul plays a song or composes a song, a 3-minute song which has all the elements of a well-made play in it, it's got everything in it, or a beautiful poem, or a sonnet, or or an epic drama. It's got all those elements in it condensed, and he understands things like rhythm, of course, tension, dramatic tension, or what he calls rubber bands. He says, you got the rubber bands, you got to go in, keep it. Silence. He's a big fan of silence. We talk a lot about silence. He's a wonderful inspirational force. I feel very lucky because I get to go home and talk about, and he's teaching me guitar. So
that's great.
Yeah,
that's great. You were raised not traditional. Did you go? You were an Army brat.
Yes.
So you lived all around the States.
Yes.
And born in Kentucky.
Yes.
And then in Germany.
We lived in Germany.
Now, so your education is really not the same as what most kids who go to public schools in urban areas would know.
Yeah, it's different. Or most kids who go to public schools in suburbia.
Yeah.
Or America. Yeah. Or it's different.
How lucky do you feel?
Well, lucky and lucky. I mean, it's your life. At some point you have to just accept it, not make a big deal of it either way. You know, it's hard. Well, it's hard moving around. We moved like every year. You know, my father was a colonel. He always was getting transferred. He would go off to Vietnam twice. You know, we were always moving. I was telling someone the other day, it was like being on the lam, except you worked for the government. You know, it's like always going, and you don't build up a real community. You know, you don't have that thing where you can call a friend that you went to 5th grade with and talk on the phone. I don't know the people I went to 5th grade with, if they're out there, you know, hi, you know, here I am. I don't know where they are, you know, and I long sometimes for that connection. Other times, I'm really glad that.
Do you think, though, that that helps you get the distance that your plays have, you know, that you see bigger picture things? That
I think it helps me, but I know a lot of people who are Army brats and aren't playwrights. So no, but I think
that isn't. No, we try to where they learn.
No, people like Sam Shepard, Intozaki Shange's father was in some kind of service where they moved around a lot. You know, Sam Shepard's dad was, Anne Bogart, her father was in the Navy or something. You know, so people love to do that, and I think, yeah, right, but but then there are all a whole bunch of other people.
And you were really told that in high school that you shouldn't be a writer because you couldn't spell?
Yes, that's true.
And then what happened?
And then I listened to my teacher because I had a lot of respect for her, and I went to college. You know, I listened.
And you were a chemistry major?
I was a chemistry major, and I, doing that, all day in a basement. It was not my path, we can say. And so I, at the same time, because we had to take at Mount Holyoke College, we had to take required courses, So I had to take an English basic, 101 English class. We read Virginia Woolf, To the Lighthouse, and your mind goes, poof. And I said, I got to get out of the chemistry lab and at least get into English, because I like reading books, so. And then I kind of wormed my way back into doing what I want to do.
And how'd you find James Baldwin?
He's great.
I didn't mean how old Cary Grant. I mean, where did you find him?
Oh, where did I find? Oh, I'm sorry. How did I find? Sorry. How did I find him? Oh, yeah. Where did I find him?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's the question. He was teaching at Hampshire College, and I had a professor in the English department, Mary McHenry, who gave me a note one day and said, Mr. Baldwin's, coming to town.
Yeah, look who's down the block,
Yeah,
right?
you better apply for his class. You could get in. And I'd been just taking creative writing courses, just, a little bit. And I got in. I was lucky enough to get in. There were only 15 people in the whole entire Pioneer Valley, the 5 colleges. It was a 5-college class, so anyone from the 5 colleges could apply. So it was a big deal. And I got in. I made it in, and barely. And he was very encouraging.
He's the one who told you to be a playwright.
He's the one who told me to be a playwright. He also told me I was going to be a great, you one day child, you will be wonderful. And sometimes I think, I've really worked really hard just to make sure he, didn't turn out to be a liar. But, so, but when you say that to a kid coming up, one day you're going to be a wonderful writer, what it does to them is, instead of, you're not going to be any good, why don't you give it up, kind of thing. Just the power of positive encouragement, positive grounded encouragement, not some kind of crappy sort of, oh yeah, you're good, but a really positive grounded encouragement to young people coming up. It does amazing things to them. And that's one thing I do with my students at Cal Arts. I give them continuous, positive, grounded encouragement. Just to believe in them. Especially when they can't believe in themselves, you believe in them more, to help them through the rough spots. So.
How big a deal is it to be the first African-American woman? I mean, that's a lot of modifiers before you get to your Pulitzer Prize, right? It's shocking to me. I was shocked when I realized that there hadn't been any.
Because, Lorraine shoulda, and Alice Childress shoulda, and Adrienne Kennedy shoulda, and Intozaki shoulda, and, and Anna Devere Smith should, we have a lot of shouldas that came, that are around still with us. But how big a deal of it is it? To me, I mean, how does it compare? I wish, I should call up, Mr. Albee, you know, Edward
Yeah.
Albee, and ask him, like, how does it feel just to win one? Just like win one, just be a guy and win one, you know? Does it feel like what? Or when you won your first one, how did it feel, you know? Because then I could sort of find out how it really feels, because it feels great. And doesn't it feel great to Edward Albee also?
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, so it feels great.
Mm-hmm.
Is there, you know, I mean, yes, and now we are a different world. Well, sure, we are.
It seems, though, from the outside, looking at the theater, because as a professional audience member, there used to be a lot more black playwrights.
Oh, really?
I think so. I think, or maybe
Oh,
that the
really?
playwrights are really sort of getting ghettoized. I mean, the Negro Ensemble Company was an ongoing, you know, wonderful, vital theater that had constantly new playwrights and lots of wonderful actors who, you know, that I don't see unless August Wilson comes to town, and then, you know, 8 of them get work.
Right.
And then you don't see them again unless they're on Law and Order.
All right. Right. Huh.
This is not something that you're conscious of.
Well, I think there are a lot of, I find that there are a lot of really wonderful African American playwrights out there. So I mean, maybe there are fewer now than there were.
Are you finding that they're having more trouble getting produced, or this is not something that you watch because you're getting produced?
Well, no, it's not that I'm not one of those people where things are happening for me, so I'm sort of asleep to the rest of the world. No, not at all. But I do encourage all of us to look for what is happening instead of what isn't. You know, because there are groups, there are playwrights organizations, and some of them have been created by playwrights, and some of them have been created by theaters. And I'm not going to go name any names, but I mean really ghettoized playwrights. And a lot of times these writers get together to share, you know, shop talk, which is great, and end up kvetching about what ain't going on. That does not help things. I mean, it's a better way to say, well, who do we have who's in our corner? How can we access those people? Let's write the best plays that we can. I didn't sit around saying, gosh, how many African American women playwrights have been on Broadway? Gee, I better hang it up. I just wrote a play.
How hard was it to get Top Dog Underdog onto Broadway?
I don't know.
It was
I
George
have
Wolfe
no
and the
idea.
Public's
It was
work.
George C. Wolfe at the Public Theater,
Yeah.
George Lane, my agent William Morris, and the wonderful producers, of which we had many wonderful people. But I really didn't involve myself with.
How important is it to you to have a theater supporting your career, really?
Right.
That this will be this play about the Scarlet Letter is now your 5th play produced
Right.
at the Public Theater, which must be great to have a home.
Yes, great.
Do you feel like you have a home, or each time it's another audition?
No. What's great about George C. Wolfe is that he's made it. His commitment to me is there are no little strings, or I mean, there's strings in every relationship, but there's no audition thing. Even though I don't take advantage of that either. I don't expect him to produce everything I write. I expect him to produce things of the highest quality, whether I write them or not. So so my home, yes, I think that the plays I've given to him that he has decided to produce have been of the highest quality, regardless of the fact that I wrote them.
It was there. I don't know how you felt, but I was throwing things when I heard that he did not get a Tony nomination for Top Dog Underdog. Because if you look at that script, the difference between what's on the page and what's on the stage, there's somebody in there. In the transition, no?
Well, I mean, he is a great director.
Yeah.
He did a great job, and we had a wonderful time in rehearsal every day. It was a joy. I have, that's another thing I don't, like we say, I'm not studying the minds of the Tony voters. Or as Lincoln says in Top Dog, what does he say? I don't, something like, I don't pay no mind to the thoughts of miscellaneous strangers. That's a paraphrase. But, that he doesn't really think too much about what people are thinking.
Now, you are working in L.A. with a TV series.
I'm doing an adaptation of Toni Morrison's novel Paradise for Harpo Films, which is Oprah Winfrey's company. So it's a miniseries.
That's going to be a miniseries.
It's a miniseries. So it's really great because if you take the novel, which is a dense and wild novel, and you have to turn it into a miniseries, which is a show with commercial breaks, which is a great craft exercise. I completely love doing it, working on it.
And Spike Lee?
Yeah.
How did this happen? This was Girl 6.
Spike. Yeah, this was in '96.
Yeah,
this was a while ago. We were hanging out. We were having a meeting, and we went for a walk, and he said, "You have any ideas?" You know, and I said, "Yeah, I got a lot of ideas." And he said, "What are they?" And I said, "I'm not telling you because I know you have an idea. So why don't you just tell me what you're thinking?"
And there's a novel now too.
There's a novel,
which is you going from the collaborative to the just you and the quill.
Yeah, sharpening the quill, getting Mother's Body.
Which is about
there's a young woman in Texas who is expecting. She's pregnant, 5 months pregnant, and has no husband, and has to. Her mother died many years ago and was buried with some jewelry that is of value, and our heroine must go and resurrect Mother to get the jewelry, meaning dig her up.
Okay. All right. Here's one more question. If you could change one thing as a woman right now that would change things for women in the theater, we ever sign? Yeah. You don't have to have one, but
this goes back to my sort of I would encourage women to continue to write good plays and continue to write great plays. And or if they are writers, for example, if they are directors, continue doing their very best work when they work, wherever they work.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that matters. Do your very best work regardless of the circumstances.
And then good things follow.
Things follow.
Things follow.
And things follow.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Suzan-Lori
Parks. This has really been wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on behalf of the League of Professional Theater Women. I'm Linda Weiner, and this has been Women in Theater.